I'm Isabelle Gonthier, Chief Assessment Officer at PSI Services, and I invite you to delve deep into the world of testing with me. Every episode, I'll be on the virtual couch with experts from the testing industry, engaging in conversations about the latest developments in our field. Your quest for testing knowledge starts here. So, welcome to this tried and tested podcast. I have the pleasure to be here in Princeton, New Jersey, at the ETS head office with Ratnesh Jha. He's the general manager of the institutional products at ETS. I'm super excited because we're going to have a conversation around measuring English language level and at work and beyond. So, I think there's going to be like a very interesting conversation. I'm very happy to be here with you, Ratnesh, today.
Thank you so much, Isabel. It's a real pleasure to be part of your podcast. I've been watching your podcast. It's really very, very good academically, but also very deep in terms of the work which has been done. So the kind of people and list of people part of what your discussion is makes me real pleasure to be here sharing my thoughts with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Looking forward to it. So let's talk a little bit about you, your journey in education and assessment. What brought you to do the work you do?
Wow. I think education is quite embedded as part of my whole journey. My mother used to teach psychology in college. And as I saw her teaching and, impacting the children and students and creating value for them, it was profoundly embedded as part of my thinking. So I started as a banker in the beginning, but at some point in somewhere it was there back of my mind. It's that I will get into education, and therefore, after having spent good amount of years in banking space, I pivoted and joined the education space, and I've been working for last 20 years across all spectrum of educations. Starting with working with government to sort of look at reforming curriculum, education technology, large publishers, assessment organization. In the last couple of years, been very engaging. Having worked in University of Cambridge
Mhm.
assessment and press, for Asia as a region, sort of seen how the adoption and how assessment and education can really unlock value in across all space, whether in the K-16 or higher education, university, or
Mhm.
even in the corporate and employability space. TOEIC or ETS, which I'm leading for the last 3 years. ETS with its own mission, the way we're looking at
Yeah.
being part of the whole measurement science company, a company or organization which is really have a mission of being there as a part of a signaling organization.
Mhm.
I think it's been a very empowering. The last couple of years seen across my global portfolio, we run about 6 million assessment every year across
Okay.
different parts in Asia, Europe, Latin America, and our ability to see the diverse set of the assessors or assessees or the people who are taking the assessments and the value it is creating, it's very, very empowering. And we've also, in a way, in meaningfully contributing as really the talent starts moving, whether it's upskilling, reskilling, we've been part of that journey. So it's very empowering to be part of the education.
Well, no, absolutely. That's exciting because, again, it's as part of your journey, being where you are now, looking at the impact that you're having by nature of the work you do, the assessment, the TOEIC, um, and in the end, the test taker, ultimately, the person that's taking the test, it's to help them access a better future, a promotion, a better work for a renowned company, so
Sure.
on and so forth. So
Sure.
that impact is measurable and
Yes,
it's very exciting.
that's right.
Yeah. So looking at globally, so when you think about language assessment, you think about it today, what are the most critical trends that you're seeing that are influencing that today? And from an assessment standpoint, is there any specific things you want to highlight, some challenges, opportunities for language
So,
assessment?
Isabel, we're living in a very profound time at this point in
Hmm.
time. If you look at in terms of journey and you try making the spectrum,
Hmm.
I see this as a time of intelligence. And I think also
Mm.
I see a convergence of both the artificial and the human intelligence happening. Now, as that convergence happening, I think the assessment industry itself, which I call as the signaling industry,
Mhm.
the measurement science industry, is going through a profound change. So if you look at when we've had a knowledge economy or a digital economy a few years back, it was very standardized, really. Everything fits into one kind of test, and you
Mhm.
could take that test and kind of predict it. But what has also happened, and you look at some of the reports of World Economic Forum, they're trying to indicate the kind of a job shifting, the new jobs getting created, about 170 million new jobs getting created. All of these data suggest that the signaling or measurement itself also need to sort of change.
Mhm.
So I see us as an organization, ETS, or within that, the language assessment like TOEIC has a very important role to play.
Mhm.
And that role is essentially how do we actually look at those measurement and signaling and kind of make those changes in making it more lifelong learning kind of,
Yeah.
because what was happening in the past decade, if I may, knowledge was important. It was important that what is it which you know, but
Mhm.
and now what is important, it is what is it you need to know and how fast can you learn. So in the lifelong journey and measuring those new set of thinking which you are new skills which you're adopting, it is important that those measurement signaling needs to be right. So I see us to be becoming more agile. I see us to becoming more modular. I see ourselves in terms of changing, being more valid, more
Mhm.
more transferable.
Mhm.
And I think those are the kind of assets which we have as a part of our very well research oriented measurement science
Yeah.
company. So I think we are very empowered to be part of that change and making sure that we also adapt and bring in those changes and start making impact through our assessment suite of assessment
Yeah.
and also our learning intervention.
Really evolving the assessment in terms of moving it beyond that one point in time that, it's kind of looking at it in terms of that learning journey
Yeah,
and where meeting people where they're at,
that's right.
basically. So, no, I like that, and I think it's really important. It's part of the conversation. The technology allows us to do that more and more now, and the demands of the workforce. It's no longer the one thing you come with a degree, then you get a job, and then you evolve in that job. There's so many other elements that needs to be factored in.
Sure.
So I appreciate that for sure. So so you've mentioned it. You're the lead of the ETS's institutional products, including TOEIC, which is pretty, a large scale assessment, and that TOEIC has a prominent place in Japan. Can you explain a little bit more the role of TOEIC has come to play as it in terms of the workplace, from a workplace assessment standpoint, compared to more academically focused, the language assessments for purpose of academia?
Sure. So I think TOEIC is a very unique set of assessment, and if you look at it, is we in a way or other we're quite ready. We see the focus of workforce and the
Mhm.
employability as it's changing. We've been actually having a test which is a basically designed based on evidence. So we
Mhm.
call it as an evidence designed
Yeah.
kind of a framework, and our researcher really works on that. Sort of while we look at fairness, validity, everything as part of our sort of any assessment which we do in ETS, but
Mhm.
play that with the context, play that with the real sort of change which are happening. It just makes it very compelling. So, we're known for our scores. So if you look at
Mhm.
organization or universities sort of using us as a benchmark,
Mhm.
the test is as important as our scores are today in many parts, like you were explaining in Asia or even in Europe, like France and other places. Our test score is actually it's kind of a bridge between what students are really going through the academic
Mhm.
really journey and also getting into employability space. So TOEIC has been there in the academic space, creating a larger capacity, both for sort of student coming in, exiting out of the whole academic institution, but also making sure that our test is a benchmark for screening within the employee. And we're
Mhm.
working with thousands of corporates across. I mean, just as an example, in the last couple of days, we're looking at airline industry or
Mhm.
energy sector. There are more than 41 airline industry work we
Yeah.
across. Every other airlines really have a whole crew, and every employee mapped against our score. Or in the energy sector, about 29 energy sector companies we are working at this point in time, and these are very diverse. So what makes us very unique and different, Isabel, as a assessment is just as a signaling or a measurement sort of tool, which really gets the context alongside with the core of that
Hmm.
fairness, validity, and really
Yeah.
scientific way of approaching it. We're starting to actually do even more, making it sort of make sure even more modular. So I think
Hmm.
this is a very empowering time. Our growth story has been commending. So I think we want to really go ahead and make sure that we impact not only 6 million, maybe more, 10 million lives in the days to come in.
Well, absolutely. And the thing is that you need to make sure that the assessment, the way it's designed, the way it's structured, the way it's delivered, it meets the needs of the market as
Sure,
well. And those needs are evolving. We've talked about it.
sure.
And I guess that's a great segue to, when employers, schools, or organizations turn to language tests, what are the main needs they're trying to address, really?
So employer typically, if you look at it, the life cycle of employment, one is that employers look at in terms of hiring the right set of talent, and then you take the same talent into the journey of creating productivity alive. So you would
Hmm.
see the employer having discussions around the fact that are you getting or attracting the right talent, or
Hmm.
employer having a discussion that are you able to retain the right set of talent. So I think they need tools which essentially contextually and in a very sort of role based and very specific way reflect them that what is this person's journey is. So we've been really working with organizations and university, as I said that, and they've been benchmarking roles,
Hmm.
various roles within the industry, within the roles, as to what that score means for them. And
Yeah.
then when they look at a lifetime journey, they look at benchmarking even further. So it's kind of a tool given to the employer or the university or the education organization for them to sort of get to a lifelong journey mapped and therefore create value for themselves as a real enterprise, but also value for that test taker or somebody
Hmm.
who's going through that in terms of their upskilling, reskilling, and mapping them with the right set of resources.
And now a short break. Hello, tried and tested listeners and fellow testing enthusiasts. I'm Isabelle Gonthier, your guide through the fascinating world of credentialing. Each week, we dive deep with expert guests to explore the hottest topics in certification and licensure testing. If you're enjoying our journey through lifelong learning and innovation, take a moment to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And if you know someone passionate about testing or curious about the latest testing trends, why not share this podcast with them? It might just be the inspiration they need. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our community. Remember, sharing knowledge is one of the best ways to grow our industry together. Keep listening. You've been talking about the use of scores, and I think that's a very important element. If you think about, TOEIC specifically is been connected to the workplace rather than necessarily specific as more specifically to the classroom. So, how does that then impact and influence how the test is designed to again make sure that then the results, the outcomes, the score is being used appropriately?
So I think I talked about the evidence-based or
Hmm.
contextual.
Yeah.
So if you look at current time, Isabel, so the whole idea of intelligence time, and then you have a human-centric approach. So how does this play the whole intelligence and empowered by the set of what is happening in artificial intelligence and kind of put together a solution which makes it very relevant for the organization.
Hmm.
So I see personally the tests such as ours are relevant not only for the employer but also for the academic
Hmm. Okay.
institution because they are preparing the children for tomorrow. So you need a tool
They're
which
the
can allow.
workforce of tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you need a
Yeah.
tool which can actually benchmark them rightly for be ready for tomorrow. And
Mhm.
tomorrow is a time when you start looking in terms of them going
Mhm.
through their own skills upskill journey or employment journey. So I think that just really helps you. So I think we are very well designed, sort of in a way that it can empower the
Mhm.
test takers, but also help both the institution and university sort of benchmark them right in terms of their skills. Within the TOEIC assessment, Isabel, we also have a pragmatic skills, right? So
Mhm.
when you have one context to the other context, our scenario-based item generation
Mhm.
essentially, or items,
Yeah.
able to map those, and that just helps the organization and institution to sort of get a right set of skills for right jobs and
Yeah.
right way of moving them. So it's like a journey a full cycle
Yeah.
from the institution to all the way to the employment, but also within the employment employment in terms of various layers as they
Mhm.
progress in terms of their journey.
Absolutely, and that the whole concept of face validity
Yeah,
becomes critical here. You're mentioning the scenarios and the way the assessment is constructed.
that's right.
The content that's included needs to align with sort of like the expectation of the language, the conversations, and align with what employers or score users would be looking for to help them make the decisions they need to make. And on that, so do you have specific example in terms of like who relies on those scores? What types of decisions are being made based on those scores?
Yeah, so we have that's a very interesting question because we have millions of those examples. I
Mhm.
mean, only recently I was flying in an airline. I wouldn't name them here, and I was wearing a TOEIC brand T-shirt, and somebody said, I need to go from this to this because I'm managing a small cabin, and I need to get to a larger cabin structure, and
Okay.
therefore I require certain sort of benchmark skills and score, and that's how the TOEIC came in as a benchmark. So I think we have various such example in different industry. I think employ across different sectors the way we have designed very standardized test, but yet very rooted in fairness and culture and contextual story. It just becomes a tool for all kinds of
Mhm.
industry, and I think it could be airline industry, it could
Mhm.
really be a retail industry. Some of the examples of. For example, a large chain like 7-Eleven,
Mhm.
they've been using our test for all of their retail stores, and
Mm.
then that itself is a benchmark. And we
Yeah.
have many such example from different sectors. The hotel industry,
Mhm.
where we're actually looking at whole of spectrum of hotel industry because their interaction and customer cares,
Yeah. Looking at the
customer
job
centricity.
roles and the
Yeah,
different
those are very important.
levels.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think we see this as a really empowering tool for various roles, various
Mhm.
industry, and making sure that these are benefiting them just not only to get the right set of talent, but also taking a lifelong journey of that talent to help organization to create real shareholder value. I mean, making sure that they retain well, they contribute well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've alluded to it a little bit, but innovation. There's lots of technology. There's a lot that's really reshaping the assessment industry overall. So what advances, whether it's being in the way we deliver assessments, we score assessments, how results are being shared, what do you think can be most impactful in the future of language testing?
So ETS is a mission-driven organization, and
Mhm.
I think it is our responsibility that we sort of look at these changing aspect of our ecosystem in a way that we can leverage them. See, I see this, our organization see this as a convergence time. When you look at both human and artificial intelligence, there's a convergence happening where artificial intelligence is really an enabler for that
Mhm.
human intelligence to empower more.
Yeah.
So as we look at new set of assessments really getting created or suite of assessment tools being used. So for example, item creation itself, or diverse kind of our
Mhm.
item creation, the
Yeah.
whole culturally appropriate item creation, all of that is really part of our leveraging artificial intelligence, having a human to sort of curate that well and be able to play that, and then packaging them in a way in on the fly so that we can actually make them
Mhm.
available for scoring to happen. And then when you score it, you have another set of tools which can really help you to score faster, be agile, and turn it
Mhm.
faster. When you do the test, your ability to do a proctoring in a way that you can actually do a very fair, high security, and good
Mhm.
result, for your somebody who's taking the test or also for the employer. So I think, we've been very excited with whatever happening in the,
Mhm.
technology space and the way the convergence happening. And we see that as an empowering of convergence really helping AI helping the human intelligence to go on. And that just really helps our mission in terms of getting to 100 million, sort of people who we can assess or make them learn and lifelong learner.
Yeah, and providing them the tools. Like if you think about the test takers, they're going in, they're taking the test for a specific purpose, and they're looking at achieving a certain level
That's
to
right.
be able to get. To be eligible for a specific job, for
That's right.
instance.
That's right.
If they don't meet that level, then they
Mhm.
need to upskill.
That's right.
And how, I think there's an opportunity again with technology to provide even more supporting tools to help them
That's right.
get to the level that they're looking for. Practice, understand, get the types of scenarios that they would be typically facing. So
Sure.
it changes, as we were saying earlier, it changes the nature of how we do the assessment. Yes, in the end, you need a score because that's what's going to be used.
Sure.
But how we go about it and the
That's
type
right.
of support we can provide the test takers can change.
That's right. In fact,
Yeah.
actually, I briefly mentioned to you about this whole evidence-based design
Hmm.
framework which we have, which is really our sort of researchers really do a great job of making sure that in the diverse world which we live in, right, and the diverse sort of opportunity which is there. How do you look at contextualizing that and making sure that context plays very well
Hmm.
and creates an evidence and make a
Yeah.
very fair and sort of valid test for you to sort of scale. So I think when you play that up with also the learning part, as you
Hmm.
rightly mentioning, and look at actually bespoking the learning and make this life learning. Even imagine the kind of power which you can create. So now you can understand the gap and
Yeah.
therefore be able to get those gaps filled. So I think it's as I said in the beginning, that we are a measurement science, we are a
Hmm.
signaling organization, and if we signal well, we actually get a right set of learning tools well. And if you do that, you can actually guide the human in a way they're very empowering, unlocking their value, and
Yeah.
be able to get to a place where we kind of have this technology human playing a great role of creating value.
Yeah, so they can unlock opportunities for
Absolutely,
themselves. Yeah.
absolutely.
So continuing on with the test taker lens, um, so what do they need from a language? Like, what's the typical needs that they have from a language assessments, and how do you balance? Do we, as an organization, balance meeting the needs and expectations of the test takers, while also making sure we keep in mind the needs and the expectations of the score users, the institutions, the employers?
And that's the beauty of TOEIC. I mean, that's if you look at TOEIC as a test of English for international communication, essentially it's just as a basic you here as a tool. But I think we have the tool to sort of be able to get not only the test takers. So it's a test takers really take it just to make sure that they feel empowered. They feel that they are ready for somewhere, and that signals them to sort of opportunity. But also for the employer, for them based on their industry benchmark, based on what they want to create value, they start attracting the right set of talent. So I think the play here is to sort of make sure that that circle of that fulfillment is complete, where you get employer and a right set of employee, and then get them into a journey to sort of perform and be productive, and therefore create an enterprise value for the employer. Not only for
Mhm.
that, for institution, come in as a right set of skills, be ready to get those learning and exit with the skills which essentially get you ready for tomorrow. So it's a very, very profound role, which I think TOEIC as a year one tool does, but also the adjacent set of product which we have kind of put together or created around that.
Yeah, which is nice because in a way it's full circle, and that the outcomes of TOEIC are applicable in any industry,
That's
as you
right.
said before. So
That's right.
it's transferable, it's transportable. So
Oh, I'll
that's
give you
this.
an example, Isabel. If you look at Asia, there's a lot of mobility happening within Asia
Mhm.
region, right? So, China, Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Vietnam, inter-region mobility. And then when the mobility happens and you look at the play of a university and employer, you need a standard,
Mhm.
because so many a times you actually stop at the border. You can't cross the border because instead of there is tool which suits talk to these two sides of the border.
Mhm.
I mean, tests such as ours play that role of bridging the border gap and making sure that mobility becomes easier, and then we can go from one institution, whether for work or studies or really maybe also other purposes, becomes easier in the
Yeah.
region. So it's a much larger role than just about in the employer space.
Absolutely. So, as we come to the end of this like fabulous conversation, I would be interested in you kind of like take your virtual proverbial crystal ball and think about the next, 5-ish years. It's hard now these days, I find, to kind of try to project too far in the future because things are changing so quickly.
Sure.
But let's just play the game. Like in 5 years from now, how do you see the role of language assessment evolving, and increasingly connecting, our world that is multilingual in so
Yeah.
many ways?
See, language by definition is a connecting tool,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So even a recent set of invention in the artificial intelligence is embedded with the large language model,
Mhm.
right? So I would say that as the convergence happening, and as we start becoming with a better and more richer tools within our own suite of offering, I think the role of language would be very profound as we shape up the whole convergence. So I think clearly in a global world or a village which we live in, and in a diverse set of population, I think language is a big connector, and a convergence of the whole artificial intelligence and the human intelligence coming together
Mhm.
and digitally sort of enabling. I think it's a very profound role to play in the next years to come in. And I think as an organization which is mission driven, I think we have a very strong role to play in terms of making
Mhm.
sure. So we've taken our mission that we want to really impact more than 100 million lives. I think tests such as TOEIC can do about 10 to 15 million lives in fact, and that could be very empowering if you can really leverage on
Mhm.
technology, get this convergence to play based on our validity and the context and making it fair. And if we can put all of that together, it'll be a very empowering journey to work with our stakeholder or shareholders, people
Mhm.
like universities, an institution, or just the learner to sort of unlock much larger value. So we're very excited in this journey for the next few years,
Yeah.
and I think we continue to sort of go more research, deep research, and continue to create value.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I love the passion. And I think that, rightfully so, it's focused on what's the impact, what are the benefits, how it's going to help like people growing, achieving their goals, their results. So it's about human progress.
Absolutely.
So it's
Absolutely. And we're very excited about that. In fact, actually, last year we did some work on the human progress as well. And I think, again, goes back to the same sort of evidence based human progress and making sure that we're kind of empowering the whole humanity in a way and
Mhm.
in a very humble way. I mean, the
Mhm.
idea of having equality, sustainable equity, these are important words,
Yeah.
as you start looking at creating capacity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, again, I appreciate your time, Ratnesh. It's been an amazing conversation. And just, as I say always, let's keep the conversation going. Let's engage because it's an important topic. It's important for people globally. So let's just keep it going.
Like I said, that I enjoyed everything which was really happening here. I enjoyed every of your podcasts, but this is exciting to be really having this conversation and
Mhm.
look forward to sort of do more of these kind of conversations.
Absolutely, we will.
All
Thanks,
right.
Ratnesh.
Thank you so much.